Greetings and happy Monday, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Mallory D. McCoy, and welcome to this week's episode of A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal. As always, may this broadcast bring you what you need in the present moment. May my light exude positivity and kindness, and may my love be extended to all who could use a little extra. Ashe. Let's seize the moment. Today's show is titled What Spiritualists Want You to Know. This is number 4 out of 4 different shows discussing death. I'm grateful to have a platform to be able to speak about such an important topic, and I hope that you've been able to learn a lot, because I've learned a lot over these past episodes, and I'm sure that you'll learn from this episode as well. So now you know I love me a good definition, and I'm team facts over feelings. So let's get into it. And I should start by defining spirituality, because I entitled this What Spiritualists Want You to Know. The term certainly has a broad definition depending on who you speak to, but one I found that has an unbiased tone is as follows: the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. For real, that pretty much sums up spirituality. Now, to define a spiritual practice is something different, because you're not defining the spiritual part of spiritual practice, but you're defining what type of practice is taking place, as there are many different spiritual practices. In my personal life, I have experienced people using the term spirituality to mean spiritual practice, but they are not synonymous. Pick me, I'm guilty, because I've certainly done that in error. So I've also heard of and been guilty of using the term spirituality to say what I practice. Example, I practice spirituality. By definition, one could probably say that, but the connotation could make it seem like spirituality or being spiritual is a religion, and it's not. Religion is an organized system of beliefs that has books, rituals, and rules. Heavy on the rituals and rules. There's a large emphasis on the external worship of ascended masters and their teachings. Someone seeking to be concerned with a human spirit or soul has to go within and develop their own relationship with energy that is greater than oneself and is cosmically divine in nature. In this sense, there's flexibility and inclusivity of all ideas, because the one in a spiritual practice understands that others are also on a personal journey, and their personal journey and our personal journey doesn't divide us, but actually brings us together as one collective consciousness. In this space, love and compassion are not restricted and are extended to all living, breathing energy. To briefly share my experience as a person on this path, it is so freeing, but also, do you boo boo? There are too many people on this earth for us to all do the same thing. Find out what works for you and your soul and go for it. And let your soul lead you to where you're supposed to be. For this episode, I interviewed 2 goddesses I am so thankful for. Both have gone within to develop a relationship with self as a spiritual practice and chose to use what they've learned about themselves while doing their own work and the modalities they've studied or have adopted as beliefs to heal others on a soul level. There are many ways to heal a person, and healing on a soul level is just one way. It's also beautiful to heal the soul because, in my opinion, the work that happens on a soul level is healing for this lifetime and other possible incarnations of your soul. All guest podcasts are titled What They Want You to Know, and my intention is to dive deep into the minds of experts, thought leaders, and fascinating individuals to uncover the one thing they want you to know about their area of expertise. I intend to unapologetically and unequivocally center the voices of people from powerful groups targeted by oppression. However, if there are other community members who can interject on this topic or any other topic, they are certainly invited to the cookout. So, like I said, this week I actually had the gift of interviewing two goddesses who use their gift of connecting with spirit to heal others' souls through their chosen modalities. And of course, both conversations were incredible, and I can't wait for you to listen. My first guest is Alexandria Scherff. She is a transformational, holistic wellness and spiritual guide, aka spiritual life coach, based in Kansas City, Missouri, and online. Her business, SoLuna Metanoia, is a transformational coaching service designed to guide individuals through personal, spiritual, and business growth. As a transformational, holistic wellness and spiritual guide, she integrates human design, astrology, tarot, and oracle readings with her extensive project management experience to help clients discover their true selves and align their lives with their authentic paths. Her approach uniquely marries the logical with the spiritual, providing a grounded yet enlightening pathway to self discovery and healing. She is passionate about empowering others to overcome internal barriers and embrace their potential, using her platform to teach, inspire, and ignite change, whether through individual coaching sessions and readings or engaging workshops or ceremonies. Her mission is to facilitate profound transformations that resonate deeply and last a lifetime. And here's what we talked about. So, welcome
Ah.
to my podcast. I'm so excited for you to be here and grateful for you. Can you start by telling my audience a little bit about you?
I worked at Cerner for 8 years, and I've been a product manager and project manager for 10.
Wow.
And actually got laid off from my last role in June of last year. Spirit was kind of like, it's time for you to get out. And I was like, oh, great. So worst fear realized. And in 2020 is when I kind of had my spiritual awakening. So
Mm.
I am, my business, I'm a transformational, holistic wellness and spiritual guide. That's the role name we have settled upon for now. It feels all encompassing because at the end of the day, I help people implement change. Now, I use spiritual modalities to help do that. Like I use human design, I use astrology, I use tarot, I use my intuition, and then we blend that and marry that with the logical systems, with the product management, with the project management. We're going to learn how to use a calendar. We're going to learn how to plan for the week. We're going to learn how to roadmap your goals and break them down into different tasks. And you're going to receive accountability, because that is one of the main struggles I've seen people go through, is that we do these New Year's resolutions. First of all, the calendar is not right. The New Year starts in Aries season. It starts in the spring.
That's
So whoever wants to fight me about it, let's go. I used to box. Like, let's go. But you're making all of these changes at once. You're trying to move a mountain when mountains aren't meant to be moved. They're traveled over, under, and through.
Mhm.
And the mountain is you. It's a great book. But it's just really like, we are moving from point A to point B at all times. But whenever you try to change everything under the sun, you end up going home defeated, depressed, upset. Go big or go home. You're going to go home.
Yeah, gonna go home.
So it's very much just that, not just having the highs like with the retreats, and which is something that I'm working on too, like having these big communal moments. But community is not built in one event. Community is built by sustaining communication in a space with whoever desires to show up there. So having that accountability, not only doing it one-on-one, but then just building that out. And I'm working on some things to make, create that container and facilitate that, because it takes a village, not just for children. It's the whole village. The whole village cares for the whole village.
Mm.
And I think we come from such a hyper independent society. Oh, don't ask this person for help. Or if you do, they're not going to help you. Or people just be like, no, I had to figure it out. I had to struggle. So that's what you need to do too. Like, our traumas are leading us whenever we could be leading with not just our emotion, but with our love and our care and our grace and our compassion and our understanding.
Mm.
And when trauma leads, that's not what we get. We get trauma responses.
That's right.
Um, so that's a little bit about me.
I love that. Like you saying, I use the skills that I learned in my job to now do what I do and create this business. And like that's what I'm being led to do too. It's just
Mhm.
always, and I just was writing about this. When people get or try to understand what they're supposed to do, they don't get lost in the what, they get lost in the how.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So that's what I'm lost in. And so when you just spoke to you, it's not this big thing that you have to take all at once. It's actually micro steps that you have to take to get to something. Because if you try to jump from here to here, you're not going to make it. You're going to fall short.
Mhm.
Like, okay, well, I'll just go back to the beginning. Let's start all over again. So I just love that
Mm.
you without knowing brought that full circle. But nothing's coincidental, right?
No, and what's funny is I was talking to my friend this morning about that, about that's kind of what I do. That's part of the big thing of what I do. That's the woo part that is hard to sell of what I do. It's like I just talk and things fly out of my mouth and people are like, "What? What?" It's crazy that you said that because and
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "I- "Okay, I'm just the messenger."
You
Uh
tap,
a
tap.
lot. Tapped in.
Yeah.
Mercury, Pluto is in my chart and they sit on top of each other. And that's just like a it's transformational. It dives into the depths. It's going to pull out those things that you really deeply desire to look at and know about because it's required for where it is that you desire to go. However, your conscious mind is like, I'm not ready for that. And I'm like, no, come on, come on, come on.
It's a gift. It's a gift. Actually, you saying that was a gift to me, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So I do have a few questions before I get into the questions I ask all my guests. So how has your personal spiritual journey
Hmm.
shaped the work that you do with clients now?
So it shapes my work with my clients because I have been through a lot of the things or experienced a lot of the emotions, the fear, the imposter syndrome, the challenges. The story may not be the same.
Mhm.
However, the feelings, the emotions that you feel them in your body. We're all human. We need water, we need sleep, we need nutritious food, we need connection and love to survive and thrive.
Mhm.
And it's the same. We need to feel our feelings. And I had to learn how to feel my feelings, and teaching people how to feel their feelings
Mhm.
is part of it because if you can't feel yourself, how do you know what you need? How do you know what your body's actually asking you for? Your body, mind, and spirit. It's a connection. It's not just one. And we're all usually very imbalanced in the mind,
Yeah.
like the cognitive layer of it. So that is how it shaped. Like I mean, I love brain stuff, brain chemistry, the mind, subconscious mind work. And then there's body-based practices and tools. Like I have a sound healing bed. I know sound healers. I get, having people who do massages and, I'm a Reiki master. So there's Reiki healing in that. And then there's the spiritual aspect of ritualizing your life and making your life essentially like it is a ritual. A
Mhm.
ritual is just something that you make sacred. You put intention to it every time that you do it. Prayer is a ritual.
Meditation is a ritual.
Meditation is a ritual. Like whatever helps you ground within you so
Mhm.
then you can show up in this world in the best way. So there's like that's where it all blends together. It's just like that, having gone through that myself and being able to utilize those gifts as I see them as gifts now.
Yeah.
Um, because I didn't for a while, but
Yeah, there's that imposter syndrome though. It's like, this is not a gift,
like
complete gift.
who wants to hear about that? Like,
A lot of people actually do want to. And as we move into, as you talked about your Pluto energy and how it sits on
mm,
top of Mercury, as we move from Pluto and Capricorn to Pluto and Aquarius,
oh my God.
more people would be open to hearing what we have to say.
Yes. Yes. Because it can be transformation doesn't happen in the light.
Mm.
It's called shadow work for a reason.
Woo! I love
Like, and you're as bright as your light, your shadows are equally as dark. They're the complete opposite of this. So bright light casts a big shadow.
Mhm.
And are you looking at that? Or are you just turning your back to it and being all love and light? Because that don't live here. We do it all.
Yeah.
You cannot spiritually bypass with me. No,
I
thank
love
you.
I love it. It's me, pick me. Because I was like, oh, we have to love everybody. I was the one. And then
You can love them all from a distance.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So I have another question. How
Okay.
does spiritual life coaching differ from traditional life coach or even therapy?
I would say that it uses the spiritual modalities as part of the foundation. Like, you might go to therapy, your therapist might be Christian, right? But
Mhm.
do they bring that into their therapy? Some people do, and some people don't. Traditional life coaching, from what I have found, is generally about, it is about, meeting goals, but it seems to me it can be very cookie cutter too. And again, I'm not talking about all life coaches. Like, if you feel attacked and that
Right.
sounds like something you need to reflect on, if it applies, it applies. But it's also like, are you tuning into the individual in front of you, or are you using the same tactics for everybody?
Mhm.
Like, we are all not the same.
That's
We are
right.
human. Yes, we all have the five senses. We all have the same features generally, and whatever. But like, skin tone is different. How you walk is different. How your feet sit on the floor is different. How
Mhm.
your hands and your fingerprints are unique.
Mhm.
Nobody has the same fingerprint or handprint as you do. So similar and different in the same breath. And I really feel that the spiritual aspect of it, using the charts, is attuning to that energy that you were born with, because that is what I believe, that the
Mhm.
frequencies from the planets were getting sent through you whenever you entered your body as a soul, and then whenever you were born, and being able to try things, because people can be very resistant to trying things. I'm like, but hey, but listen, your your Mercury is in Scorpio,
Mhm.
and you have a Capricorn moon, and that's gonna maybe check your energies and see if these align, and then we're gonna try these things that may match up with the different, I say, frequencies of that energy. There's a high frequency and a low one, right? And there's a middle one, and just the expression. And so going with that uniqueness of you and tailoring it to you and trying things and see what doesn't work, helping you tune into you, tuning into those subtle energies within your body so you can understand how you work.
Period.
Because you may get ideas from other people that do align, but when somebody gives you these, oh, this is how I made $10,000 in 3 days, this is what worked for them, and you try to copy their same system and you fall flat on your face, because they might even be a different type than you.
Right.
Their energy might run. They have different traumas. They have different ways of moving and doing all that through. So for me, it's just highly, highly personalized based on the energy, because I'm like, you can't refute that energy is real. There's spiritual studies showing Reiki coming out of people's hands,
Mhm.
and other studies around energy, where it's like the energy body in the field exists and science knows it,
Mhm.
and they're proving it every day.
Yep.
So it's just like, yeah, when we can tune into that energy that you have specifically, like, oh, what is Mallory's energy? Like, let's see. I'm gonna learn about you, and then doing the psychology, doing the brain stuff, doing the body stuff, and the spiritual stuff. And it's just another layer that helps me dial in and tune into your station.
I heard you talk about the different modalities. Which one do you lean into most?
Mm. The ones I always use are human design, astrology charts, and I always start with that. I'm like, let me see what your human design type is. Okay, let's see how you're meant to move through life, how you get invitations, or how you respond, or, and what your process is for making those decisions. And looking at just sun, moon, rising, the personal planets. And then I do readings whenever people really gravitate toward it. I may not read cards for everybody that I do coaching with, because it may not be their thing. They may not need it. But for sure, it's a human design and astrology off the rip. And then leaning into the subconscious stuff and asking the questions of, oh, well, why do you think that is? And let's dive deeper into that, but also going into the embodiment after that of, where do you feel it? Oh, you can't feel it yet? Cool. We're going to do things that help you learn how to feel
Hmm.
in your body. And for somebody that might be, hey, you can sing a little bit and you want to learn how to be seen. So let's go do karaoke. I love karaoke. I'll go with you. Like, so that way you can practice being on stage and get moving through like, how did that feel in your body when you were singing in front of strangers? And these people are drunk. They don't even know you here. But
Right.
how did you still feel? And then you can kind of go from there. But that foundation is definitely the human design astrology for
I
me.
love that. I love that. And are you self-taught or did you have to go through some sort of certification?
I am self-taught for most things. I have a human design class. It's not like, and honestly, certifications are weird for me, because I'm like, who accredited you? Who said that what does it matter?
Right. Listen, I that's why I'm asking this question. Because who decides who's certified? Because like you said, we all have different gifts, which is true. And it's up to you to figure out what particular gift that you have, and then you accentuate that. I think about that in like terms of like the clairs.
Yes.
If you feel something and I hear something, it's just our different gifts. It's not it's
Yeah.
like let's one's better than the other. We're not pitting ourselves up against each other. So in certification, I'm like, who certified you to certify somebody else? You just come up with a class. But then I thought, there's people out there that really lean into certifications because like other people make me some sort of intellect because they say I have a doctorate. And I'm like, I did a research paper and I was the intellect and I researched this one thing. And then I conducted a science experiment basically. And I conducted this one thing and that's how I got the doctorate. That doesn't mean I'm smart for everything.
Right. You're a doctor. You must know all of the things.
Yeah. So that's why I ask you, you can go through any class and get a certification. Do you know what you're doing? Period.
Yeah. Do you apply it? Do you integrate it?
Yeah. And then how is
Or
that?
are you just regurgitating the buzzwords? Don't get me started on the buzzwords. Like if you can't explain some things to a first through third grader or fifth grader or whatever, you probably don't really understand it fully yourself.
So here's my questions. What's one thing, I know we talked about a lot, but what's one thing you want people to know about what you do?
That you can't do it wrong. A lot of people have a religious background, and there's a lot of rules in religion for various reasons.
For sure.
And sometimes when you don't do something that's in accordance with those rules and those laws and those covenants and those, sacred texts, that you can be shamed for not doing it in a very specific way. Now, rituals, that's something a little different, but just the everyday person, if you get to decide how spirit, God, the higher power, the creator speaks to you and wants you to be involved in your spirituality. I might practice my religion very different than somebody else does. And that doesn't make either one of us right or wrong. A lot of people do need rules and regulations. I don't really follow rules well. So there's that. Like, because if something doesn't feel good to me, when I say feel good, it's not like it doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel in resonance with me, if it's not vibing with my frequency, if it hurts me, yes, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's where growth and change occurs. However, this is something that is meant to ground you, to bring you faith, bring you hope, bring you joy, bring you love. If it is causing you pain and fear,
It ain't it.
That ain't it. If you are afraid that God is going to punish you, if you do something wrong or not in accordance with the laws or the rules that are set out before you, if you don't go to confession, Catholics go to confession.
Right.
Well, it's written they're supposed to, right? That's what it says. If you don't go to confession, you don't confess your sins to God, you're going to be damned to hell forever. I talk to God every day and confess. I talk to God every day and ask for forgiveness or ask for a reflection. So it's just very much about, now, if you want to follow all the rules, I'm not here to knock you. That might help you understand what does work and what does not work for you. But it is about figuring out what works for you.
As an individual soul.
As an individual soul. God is in here.
God isn't right. So everywhere I am, God is.
Everywhere.
God, outside, upside down. I don't have to go anywhere to do anything. I can summons God right here, right now.
But if it benefits you to go to church and that is where you feel the most connection, go. Honor that for yourself. Nobody has to go with you. You can go by yourself because you're doing it for you. What are you doing because you love the process versus just the outcome? Ooh. Like, all kinds of things been coming in this week, but it was like, oh, if you're doing something solely for the outcome to look like a good good Christian or to look like a good churchgoer, like you're tapped into your ego and you're kind of not doing it for the right reasons in the first place.
Exactly.
Look at Easter Sunday. It's crazy up in there.
Listen, I took part of it many years. So.
Oh, me too.
I
We love a good fit, though. Don't get me wrong. I love a good Easter fit. Like,
too.
but are you coming for God or are you coming to show out?
Yeah. People would say both because some people just show up on Easter with a cute outfit and be like, I went to
And
Easter.
that's it.
There it is. And then the second question is, I used to think, but now I know.
The energy I get from it, you shouldn't even be thinking about nothing else than what the problem is that you have and how to solve it. Like you don't get to enjoy life. You don't get to go have fun. You need to sacrifice fun and do all the things that you don't want to do in order to be successful. You must struggle to be successful.
Oof.
I no longer believe that. I've released that because will you be challenged? Yes. Struggle generally comes from the mental part of it, from wallowing, from sitting in it, from unpacking and moving in with your struggle. No. Yes, your brain grows through adversity. Yes. However, that is not what the bulk of your journey even needs to look like. But when you subscribe to that thought, oh, God, it's going to be hard. I got to struggle. I got to do this to be successful. That's exactly what you'll get. But reframing your mind is like, no, I am the master of my own destiny in a sense. I'm on a path, but I get to choose kind of even how that feels. I get to choose joy and happiness every day. I do not have to wait until I've lost 100 pounds to be happy. You do not have to wait until you get your doctorate to be happy. You do not have to wait until your kids grow up and move out the house to be happy so you can leave your partner. Like, you can be happy right here, right now, every single day. Like, am I going through a lot right now? Absolutely. Am I grateful to have another day to manifest my destiny in this world? Absolutely.
This completes our interview today. So just tell me tell my audience.
Where can they find me? So on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and YouTube, I am SoLuna Metanoia, SoLuna Metanoia. Find me on there if you're interested in spiritual life coaching, transformational life coaching, making lasting change in your life. Hit me up there, solunadivine.com.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. This has truly been divine. My next guest is Nicolette Paige. She is a spiritual advisor at Soul Child Awakenings and is the owner, founder, and priestess at Soul Child Awakenings. This holistic wellness practice blends the healing arts of African and Latin indigenous traditions to guide individuals on their journey toward healing, transformation, and wholeness. She also hosts Soul Child Radio, an extension of Soul Child Awakenings, bringing good juju to the airwaves. Additionally, Nicolette manages the Kansas City Urban Farm Co-op, the largest Black-owned orchard in Kansas City. And she has been nominated for numerous awards for being a healer. I met Nicolette through a mutual friend, and when we met, I was drawn to her mystic energy and wanted to know more about her. I'm glad we stayed connected because she is a true gift to the spiritual community here in Kansas City and beyond, and her spiritual expertise is extensive. She does a lot in our local community, and so her taking the time to spend with me made me feel special. I'm also honored to be a part of her circle. She is a hospitable host, and when I went to her house, she made me feel welcome and literally and figuratively warm. It was chilly outside, and she had her fire pit going. I enjoyed this interview because Nicolette did her interview outside on her porch to find a quiet spot, but you'll hear that it's not so quiet, and you'll have to listen to hear our special second guest. So without further ado, here's what we talked about.
Okay, I got a few candles, so maybe it'll add some ambiance.
And so
Welcome to
perfectly without.
the beauty of the dark side.
So let's get started. I am so excited for you to be a part of this podcast, and I'm genuinely honored that you are taking the time to share your beautiful light with my audience. So before we get into what we're here to do today, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so for everybody who is listening, my name is Nicolette Paige, also known as Larada Didan Imoleina Aye Africa, and I am a spiritual advisor. I'm a spiritual advisor. I am the priestess, the CEO of Soul Child Awakenings, which is my wellness practice, and Soul Child Awakenings is an integrative practice that combines the healing arts with African and Latin indigenous spiritual practices to help people on their life path to finding purpose, to finding healing, wholeness, and transformation.
I love that so much.
Thank you.
I actually want to also highlight, because we are here for spiritual purposes, but to be involved with your hands in the earth is also very spiritual. So I
Yes.
would also like for you to mention your co-op.
Yes, I also am one of the owners. My husband and I both own the Kansas City Urban Farm Co-op. It is the largest Black-owned orchard in Kansas City. Holla! Hey, holla! Yes, we be growing food, and we have a large orchard with many different fruits, and we have different raised garden beds, and it is a community orchard. It's for the community.
It is. And one thing that Nicolette, because she's being very humble right now, when you ask somebody to talk about themselves, they don't, go into a whole bunch of stuff. But one of the things that I love and adore about what she does is that she gives back. There's free produce at her spot, for the community to come grab.
Yes.
She's literally growing food for the community. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful for her to give back in that way. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's totally karmic to say the very least. So you get out what you put in. So
Yes, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You got to plant those seeds and you will reap what you sow.
literally and figuratively speaking. So
Yes.
I have some questions before I get into questions that I ask all my guests. But what inspired you to become a spiritual advisor and priestess? Like, how did you get here?
It started when I was very young, whenever I began to see and hear and feel things from the spiritual realm, the ancestral realm. And growing up, it was something I didn't understand all the way, but I knew it was there. And my parents were also very aware of this too. And they also, at the time, were not very sure of it. But I ended up growing into these gifts as I became a teenager. And through I've had a lot of traumatic experiences in my life that I've been able to overcome. The beauty about these traumatic experiences is they have given me a lot of soul medicine. That's what I call it, that I am able to share with others who are on this life path, who are people that may be experiencing the same type of things. But the soul medicine, just in talking with people who were around me growing up, the lives that I would impact just from being around people and just having conversations, eventually what happened is I started to walk more in my purpose of being a healer. There's a
Okay.
lot of people, before I called myself a healer, there were people that would call me a healer. There are people that would call me priestess. I never accepted that title though until about 5 years ago, when Spirit was really like, it's time for you to really walk in this purpose and honor that you have the gift to be able to talk to the soul of a person and offer a type of healing that can't be found in many mental health places. But again, it comes from a lot of my own personal experiences. I've also studied a lot. I did go to school for music therapy, so I've studied a lot of psychology, but a lot of it is experiences from my own life. And my spiritual walk has had a huge influence in my ability to speak to the soul of a person and facilitate with healing. It was always something that I knew that I was some way to help provide healing, whether it be through music or dance or the arts in some way. And so now it's come together so beautifully because I do incorporate the arts. I do the music and guided meditations and all kinds of things. And it's evolved slowly and beautifully since I was born.
I know that you also not just through spiritual means share your lived experiences, but you also host a radio show where you get to experience other people and share an experience. So we are kind of similar in the sense that we're using our lived experiences um, to connect and heal others. But one thing we're not similar is that our journeys are different. So I'm just starting. I'm like, oh, that's what I can do. And as you know, this is the fourth of four episodes dealing with death and things surrounding death. So I want you to just talk a little bit about how would you, as a priestess, help souls who are still living prepare themselves for the cycle of life, which includes death?
That is a great question.
Mhm.
We really have to think about, what does it mean to transcend into the spirit realm? What do we think happens whenever we transcend to the spirit realm? And I think that's a very important thing to think about. What do we think happens? Because it can happen at any moment, any day, any time. So I'm a death doula, and I help people to cross over, into the ancestral realm. And what I see when it comes to preparing for that transition is, how do we find peace right now? How do we make peace with things in our past that maybe we've held on to, or maybe has caused us some kind of trauma? Where can we find forgiveness and the ability to let go and make peace with those things? Because I noticed that when people are on their, what they would call it, when they're on their deathbed, those heavy energies can sometimes haunt us in those moments. Sometimes people say, I wish I would have done this, or I would have done that, or I want to make amends here. But when people live their life every day with intention, with purpose, they seem to be more whole when that time comes, because they have lived their life appreciating the things that we as adults sometimes can not notice. The simple things like being able to hear the birds sing, being able to appreciate a blue sky, being able to sit on our front porch and eat toast, being able to inhale deeply and exhale and walk with our legs and use our hands. And it's those little things that bring us so much joy, that helps us to be purposeful. And so I would say, to prepare for that transition, you start by appreciating the life that you live every day and counting your blessings. Getting to know the creator is another important aspect of being more comfortable with the other side. I highly recommend people to find a connection with the Most High in some way, whatever feels best for them. When it comes to death, for me, I know that I'm going to go to the ancestral realm. I know that I live my life the best I can every day. And so I'm not worried about, what's going to happen to me, because I'm at peace in my soul. And so that plays a significant role in being fearless.
Mm.
There's a entity, a spirit that I work with. and her name is called La Santa Muerte. La Santa Muerte means the holy death or the saint of death.
Okay.
And La Santa Muerte is what it is. It is the spirit. It's the energy of death. It's the energy of transformation. But that spirit comes with so much wisdom and life lessons. And it comes with the ability to understand how to be purposeful every day in your life and be mindful of the actions that we take, because with every action comes a reaction, you know. So La Santa Muerte is a very compassionate spirit. La Santa Muerte is all about not just the physical death, but the spiritual deaths that we have, and helping people to work through those transitions in a graceful way. But you must be purposeful in your walk while we're here. You know, when it comes to the physical death, you just got to be purposeful, connect yourself with the Most High. And I believe that that is the best way to prepare for when that time comes. That when you prepare and you use the power of the Most High, it goes through us like a vessel. It flows through us, and then we're able to extend that energy and that love to those who are around us. It helps our energy to stay alive too whenever we do transcend.
It's most certainly true. But for my listeners though, because somebody's going to listen to this podcast and be like, what the world is that in the background?
Can you hear that? Oh my!
And that is our sweet friend. Tell me her name or his name. Her name.
That is Gypsy the macaw screaming in the background, and I was hoping that she would not be doing that during this podcast. But here we are. She's probably That's so funny that you can hear.
Yeah, she just wants to be heard. That's it. Because when I met Gypsy was scaring the mess out of me.
That is so funny. That is so funny that you can hear her, because she's making all the noises right now. All the noises.
Yes, that's what our babies do. Because mine too, he would be loud. Anyway, I love it though, because that is affirmative to even what you're saying. They can feel us too. You said so much. I forgot that death doula was also a part of your job description or your soul, because I actually, for the episode before this one, I interviewed a death doula. She's the only Black death doula that works with KC End of Life. And yes, and now she sits on the board for KC End of Life, and she's in school to be a funeral director, and she's an undertaker and mortician. She's all the things.
That is amazing.
But she is actually an intuitive, because like you, every question that I was about to ask her, she already answered it. Like you literally just answered most of the questions that I had laid out just by continuing to talk. She is intuitive like that, but she has a Christian approach. And so tell us the religious practice that you are a part of and how that's implemented into your practice.
So I have a blend of spiritual traditions that I practice all together. And so those consist of curanderismo, brujeria, Ifa, and hoodoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, isn't it hoodoo? It's a month. Is it hoodoo?
Yeah, we are in October is Hoodoo Heritage Month.
Yes, I just saw that online. And so is it something that you also celebrate and practice?
Yes, I do. Yep, I incorporate hoodoo into my practices, and I do. October is one of my favorite months because of Hoodoo Heritage Month, and also because of Dia de los Muertos, which is Day of the Dead. Yeah, I love both so much.
Fun fact. So my 8th great grandfather is Mexican. And actually, my sister just found that out on Ancestry, But then when I interviewed Jamie, the psychic medium for my second podcast for this month, she said to me, she says, "So, do you have Mexican in your family? Because your Mexican ancestors are here and they want to speak." I'm like, what?
Girl, isn't it so beautiful? Isn't that just so beautiful?
It is. It
Yeah,
really is.
I found out about my African side like a year ago, and I can't remember how far back. It's like I can't remember, but it's there, and I can't remember how far back it is. But basically, my African ancestors are from Mali and Senegal. I mostly have indigenous, I call it Mexica. Mexica is basically saying Mexican, right? But whenever the Europeans and the Spaniards came over here, they were the ones that actually came up with the word Mexican. They were the ones that came up with the word Aztecs. There's many tribes that were over in Mexico, but the ones that I come from were known as the Mexica.
Incredible.
So,
And I wish I'm gonna have to do an intuitive because my Mexican ancestors, when I was interceding to them, they told me that I would be able to just use a pendulum over a map to determine what area my family is from in
that
Mexico.
is so amazing, girl. So we're kind of alike in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like my African ancestors go back to like my great grandfather.
Yeah. It made sense. It made sense too because I'm so attracted to the culture. I'm so attracted to the culture. And I purposely place myself in spaces where I can be around the culture. And people will say things like, "Do you know how to, or did you take salsa lessons?" And I'm like, "No, I just know how to do it." And we just know how to do it.
That's that, you know, the Latina in you.
Right.
The Latina ancestors so alive in you. I love.
Well, I do have to ask you questions that I ask all of my guests. So I did ask you a lot of questions, but if you could think about one thing that you would want us to know about practicing spirituality or you being a priestess or anything actually, what's the one thing you want us to know?
I want people to know that it is very important that they honor their intuition and they honor their authenticity. Because when it comes to spirituality, what you will find as you start to dive deeper and deeper into traditions, that there are so many different ways to practice one thing. And what matters the most is, what is your spirit telling you? You take your time and you be very patient with that. You be patient with getting to know the spirit realm, getting to know those who may be teaching you, but you always, always honor your authenticity. You don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't be as powerful as you know you can be. One of my mottos for Soul Child Awakenings is the most powerful magic one can tap into is their own. And when I say that, it's because, so I do spell work and I teach about spell work. A lot of people, they want to make sure that they're doing it, you know, in the correct way, whenever there's many ways. But also we give the tools that we use for spell work, we give it the power. Now, at the same time, though, there is divine energy that flows through all things that can assist us. And Ifa, the tradition that I'm initiated into, that divine energy we call Ashe. We call it Ashe. And there's Ashe in all living things that we can work with to achieve desired outcomes. But we also have to believe in it. We have to believe in our own ability to do it. And the real magic starts within ourselves, and we have to believe it. So I tell people, like, you believe in who you are and know that you can be powerful. The last thing I'll say about that is, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to doing magic, spirit sees everything. And from my own experience, it's really important that we do the inner work of consistently growing and evolving ourselves, because integrity and ethics is important whenever we do spiritual work. And I really believe that what we do is going to come back to us. And sometimes there are things that we want, but we can block our own blessings if we're not walking in alignment with integrity. Sometimes we can receive blessings that can then be taken away because we're not walking in alignment. Now, of course, we're humans. We're going to make mistakes, but there's a difference between making a mistake and making a choice. And, sometimes we're just human, so we got to give ourselves grace. But when you start on these paths, it is, in my opinion, very important that you do your best to honor integrity. And Ifa, we call this type of integrity and good character Iwa Pele. And Iwa Pele means to have good character. How do you treat yourself? How do you treat your community? Who are you behind closed doors? How do you treat your elders? How do you raise your children? All of that plays into how our prayers are answered.
So beautiful. Ashe, that was so beautiful. Yes, it is a choice. We all are human and make mistakes, but once it can be a mistake, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Okay, we can't call it a mistake no more.
Yeah, the inner work is really important. There's a story somebody told me that I was like, yeah, that resonates. And the story is that there was a demon that walked into a church, right? And there were people trying to get the demon to go away, but the demon was able to walk all through the church and cause havoc because the demon would see, like, you think you're powerful, but you have demons that you have not faced in your own life. You're not really who you say you are. You're not righteous. This can be difficult too, because I don't want to sound judgmental, but as a spiritual advisor, I know that I have to hold myself to a higher standard than anybody else. I have to do a lot of inner work. We all do, but whenever we dip into the spiritual walks of life, there is spiritual warfare is real. And if we're not doing that inner work, then whenever we're faced with challenges, sometimes it can be harder to work through those challenges if we're not facing the challenges within ourselves.
That message is so timely, not only for today with the Libra new moon and the solar eclipse, but also as we move into, because when this airs on October 28th, we will, the people that have done the inner work will be set apart from the people who have not done the inner work.
Yes, this is so true. This is so true.
The fear and the cowardice from the ignorance of, and ignorant not in the negative sense. I don't know if we ever made that negative, but it's ignorant than simply not knowing. So if you don't have a strong spiritual practice, or you don't have a direct connection with Source Creator, the Most High, then you are most likely going to fall in the trap of fear.
Yeah, because the Creator is full of love. But fear can win if we're more dominant in fear, or we can be more dominant in love.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Spread love.
Yes, girl.
I was trying to spread it. Okay, last question. It's actually a prompt. I used to think blank, but now I know blank. What did you used to think, but now you know?
I used to think that when people called me a witch, it wasn't true. But now I know that I'm magical. Magical AF, I should say. Oh, I'm trying to watch my language.
Yes, magical you are. And it's wild because, like I talked about, connotation of words or meaning of words. That's why I start off every episode with facts, and I go directly to the dictionary. And if applicable, I pull out the etymology of words, because we have words in our language that have been duped, and witch is one of them. It has a negative connotation when it's not, and it shouldn't. And so,
Yeah, it's interesting because it's used in different contexts, depending on where you go. Because in the religion that I was initiated into in Ifa, the witches are the ones that you don't want to go to. You want to stay away from the witches. So it's interesting. But then there's this revolutionary term, bruja.
bruja, yeah.
Bruja means witch, However, usually in Mexico, you don't really want to mess with the brujas, but you'll go to the curanderas, which are the healers. The bruja can do healing work and can also do the work that is more evil. So you want to be weary of them. But there has been a evolution in the word bruja, where now it's kind of like the revolutionary women who stand in their power. I noticed like that term has been more so changed to represent those women who tap into their divine feminine, who walk with that ancestral energy. So when I say witch, when I say bruja, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, us sisters that, we got that power. We got that power. We know who we are, and we help to pave the way for generations to come.
Well, this conversation has certainly been a gift. I, again, appreciate your time, but I also appreciate just your eloquence of words. And I'm honored that you interjected you into my podcast series. We get to end with you, or I should not say end, but transform into something that we don't know that we can be because of you. So thank you for injecting all of your light into this space, even though I know that you only have 3 candles on your side. And I personally want to say thank you for creating a space, because I went to your house and you opened up your home, which to me, opening up homes is very sacred. And you opened up your home with love and brought women together of like mind and gave me a place where I can speak and people know what I'm talking about.
Yes, girl. Community is so important.
Yeah, I don't have to mute myself, and I can truly show up as my authentic self.
And your authentic self is so wonderful, sis. You are truly a goddess. You really are. Your 40th birthday pictures, I was like, that is Mal. That is her every single day. That is you. That is you. That is you, girl.
Thank you. Well, that's all for me this week. Thank you for tuning into A Monday Moment with Dr. Mal, now proudly a part of the Alive Podcast Network. You can find this show on the Alive Podcast Network website and app, and you can find this podcast streaming across your favorite podcast streaming platforms. If you love to have the visual, you can tune into my YouTube channel, When Mallory Lives, to see this show and catch up on all of my shows from the beginning. A special thanks to my guests who were willing to share their experiences on a public platform such as this. I'm humbled they chose to spend time with me. It was certainly a gift to speak with both of these beautiful goddesses. And next week, I'm excited to switch gears. For the month of November, I'm talking about real estate and money, honey. I have 3 experts that I've interviewed. The first week, I'm speaking to a virtual wholesaler who transitioned into real estate after losing her job during the pandemic. The second week, I'm speaking with a real estate agent who is also a loan officer. And the third week, I'm speaking with a finance expert. So we're talking about money and we're talking about real estate. You don't want to miss it. Until then, love and peace to all of you. Have the best week.